Tonight on Let It Rip.
Councilwoman, why don't you talk to us about this photo? Excuse me, sir.
Detroit City Councilwoman Mary Sheffield posing for pictures with a convicted criminal. He's done the crime and served his time. So should it really matter that she's posing with him in this photo? Plus the Metro Times newspaper filled with interesting articles about art, music, and fun. But you'll also find ads for dating, hookups, and yes, even sex. Is it too raunchy for local communities? Well, I hope you can hear me. The battery in my microphone just went out, but it's time to let it rip. On the panel tonight, he's the Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter with a reputation for asking the tough questions, even when he doesn't get an answer. M.L. Ellick is back. Next to him, a lifelong Detroiter, first elected to the city council back in 2009. Santil Jenkins has never been afraid to confront a controversy head-on. She's ready to rip tonight about what's really going on. And so is Charlene Mitchell, a longtime TV reporter for that other station down the street. She's now a public relations director who believes that the current council is making some of the same mistakes as the old one, at least in terms of its image. And also back with us, Sunday school teacher, political consultant, the host of Detroit Wants to Know, a man who knows everybody involved. Steve Hood is back. And so is Charlie Langton, anchor, reporter, attorney. And a little later, we're going to discuss the campaign to get the Metro Times taken off the newsstands. The reason? Too much sex in the pages. But right now, we're talking about what's on the pages of Facebook, and that's how this whole controversy started, ML.
Yeah, it did. We were looking at something for a completely unrelated story back in June, and I happened to notice some photos that Mary Sheffield had posted on her Facebook page, and right away I recognized Rayford Jackson. And I guess the first thing that struck me is, oh, I guess Rayford's out because he'd gotten 5 years for admitting to bribing Monica Conyers. And the second thing that struck me was, here he is hanging out with another city council person. So we started asking some questions, tried to make an appointment with the councilwoman because, hey, you're free to hang out with whoever you like. So we thought there was probably a reasonable explanation for it. It turns out getting that explanation has not only been difficult, but I would say to this point it's been futile because Ms. Sheffield would rather run around and play games and just tell us what was going on. And let me be clear, I don't suspect anything nefarious. It's just, what do you tell people when you're hanging out with a guy who bribed council members? What message does that send, and are you concerned about it?
Well, I ask you, Santil Jenkins, when you see a picture like that, are you concerned?
I'm not concerned, and maybe it's because I know Mary Sheffield. I think it may have been a bad decision for the picture to be posted on Facebook, but every single day, I mean every day of the week, we're approached by people asking to take pictures with her. You know, one of the questions is, did Mary even know who that was when she posed for the picture? I posed for pictures with people who were just members of the public who walked up to me and said, Councilwoman, will you take a picture with me? I didn't ask them for their record, or if they had one, I didn't ask for their ID or proof of address. I just posed for a picture. And she could have innocently done the same thing. I mean, let's think about how old Mary is. Mary's 27. You know, at 22, she may or may not have been paying attention to what was going on politically at that time.
But Charlene, you say image is important.
Image is very, very important. I think that there is reason for concern, but I almost want to say it's much ado about nothing. Mm-hmm. I really almost want to say that, and I don't know Mary Sheffield, I know her dad. A lot of people must think a lot of her because she got a lot of votes and she's there. I think her mistake is maybe, we don't know the details of the photograph. Mm-hmm. We don't know if he came in, but we do know that a lot of people who have been in trouble and been in prison, who were important people in their past, try to get back into that VIP, and they hang out at the important events and they try to rub shoulders again. And sometimes you get a picture taken and you just don't know. Posting it is another thing. If she knew who he was, it's hard for me to believe that she didn't know who he was, because I wouldn't post pictures if I didn't know the people.
And let me also tell our viewers that we, of course, requested Rayford Jackson and Mary Sheffield to be here tonight. They both declined. We also tried to contact the other person in the photograph, Stephen Hendricks, the son of the former deputy mayor, Freeman Hendricks. We couldn't reach him. But Steve Hood, you have lived in this town all your life. You happen to know everybody in that photo. Mm-hmm. What would you advise your clients in a situation like that?
Well, first of all, Ray had been at a party that night, and he came over to the top of the music hall to a party that Mr. Hendricks throws every Friday. And Mary was celebrating her birthday there. They took a picture together. Now, in terms of my advice to my clients, I would have told Mary, there's nothing wrong with taking a picture with Rayford, because the mayor of Detroit not only took a picture with an ex-con, he hired one. So you can stand with an ex-con. Ray did his time. He did it honorably. He was a stand-up guy. There was no problem. I wouldn't have advised her to do anything differently.
Should she at least have said that very thing to ML? I was just at a party, I took a picture. But it seems so simple.
It seems simple, but I go back to the neophyte thing, which is, it was a neophyte mistake. She's a new council person. She's new to this whole environment. It was just a mistake. But the only problem I had with the story itself was when they described Ray, when ML described Ray, he used the song Hustler in the back to describe him as a hustler. He had his bowler on, his $1,000 suits and all that stuff. But when he went through the montage with Mary, the background song he used was Mary Mary by Run DMC. And the problem that I have with that is a very degrading song to have as a montage behind one of our city council people. And I think you really ought to consider talking to the people of the 5th District, because you used that song, you picked that song, you used that song Hustler to describe Ray, use that song Mary Mary to describe Mary.
Hustler is the nicest thing you can say about Rayford Jackson.
No, there are a lot of nice things you
Ran
can say.
out on his family, ruined a woman's career.
No, don't change
corrupted
the
the city of Detroit.
Why did you
Hustler is a kind word for Rayford
Why did you
Jackson.
use the song Mary Mary? Have you read the lyrics to that
Yes,
song?
Mary Mary, I got to tell you something.
Have you read all the lyrics? I posted them on my Facebook page so you could actually see the lyrics of that song.
So you don't like Run DMC?
I love Run DMC, but that
What's
song
from?
is degrading. That
No,
song is
no,
degrading
no,
to women. If you don't know that it's degrading, I tell you, I can't believe that Brenda Jones hadn't even called you about that.
Brenda Jones doesn't return my calls either,
That's
so I
a
guess
very,
that's why.
very
But that-
degrading
so wait,
song.
that's-
It is
I have to
horrible.
go
Okay.
back
Steve,
to the
Steve,
story.
Steve,
now we're debating-
Steve,
Hold
that's a
up. Now
part,
we're debating Run
that is a
DMC.
part of the larger problem.
That's right.
There is a feeling that there's a bunker mentality on the current city council. When George Cushenberry had that run-in with the law, he was detained, not arrested, when police found marijuana in an open container in his car. The final report said he did nothing wrong. Had a little run-in with you as well, ML. Then we have freshman council member Scott Benson, arrested for drunk driving in Southfield.
He saw the border.
And again, there is this shutdown of information. The question is there a legal obligation? Now, voters think that politicians work for us, but do they have any legal obligation to answer questions from reporters like ML?
No, it's
they
easy.
don't.
Nothing. Absolutely not. No council person has to answer any question whatsoever from a reporter. No.
Are they not public servants?
when they
But
don't,
that doesn't matter. They don't have to. They
Charlie, but
absolutely
when
don't
they
have to.
don't, when they don't.
That's the worst thing when
That's
they
why I
don't,
said
though.
you can take a mountain of. Yeah,
But
we're in agreement.
I
because
want
if
everybody
she could have
here,
just
though.
spoken up, and this would have disappeared. But once you start running from cameras, you
I agree.
look guilty of something.
I
and she
agree.
probably was a little bit intimidated
But-
and
Well,
afraid.
and let's be
Okay,
clear.
it's on to you. It's on to you.
But I think what you all underestimate is how intimidating it is to have someone coming at you with a camera. And ML,
but so-
I love you, but you have a reputation. You know, I know you're
Well, I got
shocked,
a
right?
repu-
Me? But
Wait a
so,
minute, don't
so
tell my
people
wife.
are-
She thought I was a good boy.
So people are afraid.
But
People are
Councilwoman-
intimidated, and I'm not saying Mary was afraid or
But
intimidated.
you're in the public
But what
eye,
I'm
though.
saying,
But
you
here's
are
the
in
issue.
the
Please.
public
Because you're
eye.
elected
No,
official,
when you-
your status is up there, and people will put a camera in your face, and you probably should talk. It's a mistake, I believe.
you
not to
always
talk.
should talk.
But
Hugh, let's
saying
clear up a
nothing is
couple
the
of things
worst.
right here.
I
Okay,
agree.
okay.
I agree, which is why I generally talk to the media. I mean, you know, one of the things that I've learned is tell the truth, tell it yourself, and tell it fast. Otherwise, the story becomes, what are you afraid of? Why are you running? So that's what I do. But I don't pretend that it's easy. It's not that it's easy. I believe it's necessary, but that comfort comes with time. I had the good fortune of working for one of the best politicians this city has ever
Mary Ann
seen.
Mahaffey.
Mary Ann Mahaffey was one of the smartest and shrewdest politicians this city's ever seen. So I had that good fortune of being in her space. Everybody doesn't come to the table with that.
Well,
so
But she's
I
from a
think-
political
Hugh,
family.
ML,
She's
ML.
from a political family.
yeah.
Let me clear
ML.
up 2 points. First of all, I have it on very good authority that Rayford Jackson and Mary Sheffield know each other fairly well. Nothing wrong with that. But this was not sort of a
That
who's this
authority
guy.
has it wrong.
Well, that authority, I think, share some DNA with her, but that's fine. But let me just say this.
He's been wrong before too.
Well,
Especially
that's
next
another
Tuesday.
segment. But let me just say this. As you can see from the piece, we called Ms. Sheffield from the station to try and arrange an interview. They declined. We called them from City Hall to say, we'd like to speak to you. We're coming up. We went to the offices, which we didn't show, to say we'd like to speak to Ms. Sheffield. We went to the city council meeting and tried to speak with her, tried to get her attention. She avoided us. This was not an ambush. This is the way she wanted. And I have a real concern because we've seen this city go off the rails when we have public officials who think they're accountable to no one, who don't have to answer any questions, and who use our very limited public resources and police to keep law-abiding citizens, residents and taxpayers like myself from asking them reasonable questions. She could have told us this is no big deal. This is an old friend. We're not doing anything wrong. You're too uptight. What's your problem? Get out of my face. All fair answers, but you've got to give the answers. And if you're young and you're making mistakes like this, I'm concerned about council members who take a cue from George Cushingberry and not from Santil Jenkins, because you conduct yourself professionally, maturely, and in the best interest of the public. This is a learning opportunity, and I hope the lessons learned, because we need to hear from these people.
And to be fair, Mary Sheffield did send us an email in which she said, in essence, that she was concerned about the business of the people of Detroit and the progress to be made in the city, but she did not want to address this photograph in the discussion. Maybe we've all learned something here. It is
Certainly in the discussion.
It's always right to ask questions, and frankly, it is always appropriate to answer as truthfully, as honestly, and as quickly as you can. Bottom line, that diffuses almost any situation. Do we all agree with that?
Yes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right,
Amen.
agree?
Maybe she'll come on after this.
I hope so. I hope so.
And I'm still going to keep playing Run DMC. I love Run DMC. I'm sorry Steve doesn't.
You shouldn't play
I have
that
to
song.
go back
That's
Mary,
and
great.
read those.
That's
You're
a
all-
great
because I
You're
don't know
always
the lyrics.
welcome,
No,
as are you.
Song. You shouldn't do
All
that.
right, still to come on Let It Rip. The Metro Times under fire. You can read all about art and music and other wonderful articles. And you can also find ads for dating, hookups, and a lot of something else. But are those ads up front for even more sinister operations? Should it be banned? Tonight, the debate takes center stage when Let It Rip returns.